we'll put a sticky here and make a doorknob on the door to get to choke. This area in here, I think I missed, is called lobby. This entire area between 3, 4, and 5 is called lobby. Upper lobby is this section up here. Lower lobby is this section down here, just to distinguish which side of the staircase somebody's on. There are 2 hiding spots in here that are like worth mentioning very, very briefly. This is I forget what this is called. I think this is just the 3, 4 hiding spot. And then there's one over
Spoiler.
here. I thought this one was boiler.
They're kind of both boilers. He's like on
Yeah,
top of boiler and corner behind boiler.
yeah. And then upper lobby leads into upper IT, this section, this entire section through here, because this area, this side and this side are IT. This side being lower IT by this lower door, and then upper IT by the upper door. Do we have a friendly name for the soldier bomb spot? Do you know any? Or are we just calling it
Just
the
call it.
standard?
So this is called Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
I don't know who made that name, quite honestly, but you'll find that throughout the maps there are definitely names that are not. Uh, I guess you could say not have an inappropriate background in history, especially with the game this old. So that one's just Al Qaeda, but there are some spots in other maps that are named after countries. Sometimes it's on the shape of it, sometimes it's on other aspects, but yeah.
But this doorway from this area being called sewer, this doorway here is called Al Qaeda. I believe the specific reason it was called Al Qaeda is because soldiers will send sacrifice plays from the spot and they'll bomb onto like the enemy medic or enemy combo. It's not a very great name, but it's what people tend to use just because it's been around for so long. This spot is fence very appropriately. And then over on this other side by upper IT, you have pipe. This is like a little walk up as you start to get into 2, or into 2 into second. And then I think the last thing to point out is the forward spawn. Right, so if your team controls mid, you'll be able to spawn in this room instead of all the way on your last. Have a little bit less of a walk to get to the middle of the map. I think moving on to mid, we have through IT, we have the other side of sewer over here. This side. 3 doors on sewer. Both of these are just called the sewer shutter, depending on where you guys are and where you're looking. If you're coming in through this door here, this door called choke, into mid, you'll immediately see rock. It's just called rock because it's a rock. And then you'll have your color crate, right? So blue crate, and then they'll have red crate. Your IT pack, and then you'll have your hut and their hut for ways to get up top onto height, because you can jump up here and sit over everything and just control the space on the mid by walking up on the huts. And then the corners on this side, this space over here is called Death Corner, because you don't really have a good way to like walk around if you're getting spammed at. And usually when you're in here, it's pretty easy for somebody to sit up here and stop you from walking forward. Then soldiers might just jump onto you and land on you. And typically you die when they do that. So this area around here is called Death Corner, from like about here to about here, up until you like cross over and you're in front of their IT. Do you want to cover like the soldier bomb spots, if there are any names on mid that you use?
Yeah.
So I forget which one is like Seagull.
I think
Back
it
on your POV.
is it working?
Um, yeah,
Okay. So I guess like two of the most common bomb spots is just this one. It's just off the billboard. And then Seagull is technically above the forward spawn, so right here. You'll find that like if people are hiding as you push into mid, this is a spot to check. The other bomb spot that isn't really as used is just this one where you'll go far right. You'll see some soldiers sometimes use it as soon as the mid starts, but it really just depends on how your soldiers play the mid. Um, this little part, you can call it like above sewer, but it's also called I already forgot the name. It's always a weird name. But yeah, I think that's mostly it for, and just forwards. Is there anything for callouts that you missed?
I don't
I don't think so.
think so.
All
Unless I
right.
missed something on 2.
So I guess just starting out when we do rollouts, um, I want to say like a good mid and a good start to any teams like starting a match is the rollout. You want to get to mid either like fast or in a way that everyone gets there healthy enough that as soon as the mid starts, you're able to fight and have a presence, take space, things like that. Soldiers, I'm not gonna try to go over I guess like class by class, but for the most part, all your projectiles would go through these like kind of this pathway. Same for your scouts and your demos. One of your soldiers usually gets an arrow here, but everyone else usually is going to be healthy enough walking with your med along the way. When you get to mid, there are a couple ways you can play process mid, and you'll find that this kind of is different map to map. So some of the maps, for example, Snakewater, there's not as wide of a space. You'll see that like it's only one kind of big lane. But I would say the most popular mid people do is usually rotating, which is essentially just someone picks a side and you guys are kind of just trying to mirror the other team. Along the way, you're kind of just trading spam, taking height, trying to see if players like away from their pack, so to speak. Um, they're isolated, they're caught, and you're able to kind of rush them down with everyone and then kill them. Um, Other mids, like you could rip fast ones where you just have everyone just bomb ahead, where you're both your soldiers and you have people walking. But generally, you want to structure a mid fight before you start a mid. A lot of different people will call it. So, if you're main calling for your team, sometimes you might call it because you think the enemy is doing something where maybe there's a glaring weakness and you think calling a specific thing will help you capitalize it. Sometimes it's your soldiers if you feel like you want to make a good play or you think that you've spotted something that you can exploit, you can call it. But again, it really kind of just depends on your team dynamic on how you play a mid. Usually, if it's a pretty like slow mid as a scout, I usually just stand here on the rock, and the idea is just you're kind of keeping watch of everything. You're trying to spot all the players, and that kind of goes for any class where you're usually just trying to spot and make sure that you're seeing everyone, you know what's going to happen, and if they do like for example bomb, or if they're trying to walk, you can spot it ahead of time. Um, there are scenarios where like maybe you're hiding around because you're trying to get an arrow and things like that. But for the most part, especially for scouts, you want to be on height, controlling the ground, being able to shoot the soldiers that do bomb, um, things like that. Demos are usually on the ground. I don't ever see a scenario where you'll be on height, but the idea is you're trying to stop it so that their team doesn't walk into you for free without taking a lot of damage, or you're controlling heights with your stickies. So like you just do stickies on top of the crates, and because you have an arc, it's really really easy damage for the most part. Um, so yeah, throughout the mid, you're just kind of spamming. You're trading kills. Um, People might go behind, for example. That's something that's also really common. Where, let's say a soldier rolls out really fast, they decide going behind is a good thing. Maybe they notice that your team is really slow. You guys get to mid, but you guys are kind of taking a long time to like maybe go left, for example. Maybe their soldier will realize this. They'll go super fast. They'll be in your they'll roll out into your IT through rocket jumps, and you won't know until you're past this and you go back. I have no idea where I was going with that. Is there any questions so far? Don't kill mid. Okay, never mind. Sorry, useless questions. Not useless questions, but just weird commentaries. Um, but yeah, so let's say you've gotten kills. Let's say I've taken control of mid. Now we've capped and we're trying to get into second point. Again, this is just choke. The area over there is IT and this area is sewer. The idea is I'm trying to get through these chokes with enough man advantage or heal advantage or any type of advantage and essentially force the other team out of second into the last so that we can get one more point, maybe even roll it to last because we've gotten enough kills. A lot of teams typically choke, and sewer is a really popular way to push. The idea is that IT is kind of really narrow in the sense that you're going through a lot of like these tight, close angles, and any good soldier can just kind of spam you out without taking much damage. So people, if they ever are trying to push, choke, and sewer is really popular. I'm a big fan of sewer just because you can kind of get through this fairly undetected. Like even if you're here and someone's trying to control the space, you can have like your demo just immediately trap off the shutters, and it's kind of easy to take. In that regard, if you're defending, you're usually not trying to hold sewers that heavy. You're kind of just a point just because you have all this height advantage if they come. But again, let's say uh, you're pushing. It doesn't strictly mean that IT is kind of off limits. Sometimes, or a lot of teams, what they'll do is they'll have their flank playing in IT. So again, that's your flank scout and your roamer. The idea is like as your combos are kind of fighting each other, your flank is kind of trying to either sack, for example, maybe they're going to do with your choke, in which case your flank scout isn't going through IT and they're kind of just watching to make sure none of their team goes through IT. Um, that's, I guess, also another reason why you normally don't have your entire combo go through IT. The idea is like it's going to take so much health and so much time trying to go through IT that for the most part they can just push mid if it really comes down to it against a good team. Okay, let's say you've gotten some advantage. Maybe you've gotten picks because people are, for example, people are playing here, and your whole team is like, wow, there's two people alone there, and everyone else is over there. I can really easily kill these guys who are just alone. I'm gonna take this 6v2 here. We've killed them. Our player ad, the other team backs out. As we get to second, the idea again is just you have a point, you cap it, and now you're trying to break into last. Um, I guess I didn't talk much about this. I don't know how much. I'm guessing not talked at all, but there's different doorways leading into every point. This one is 3 doorways, and one of the reasons you want your flank kind of going through different directions is someone's actually checking to make sure no one's hiding behind. You don't want to be like, oh, I've killed two players. I'm on second. I'm capping. I'm not paying attention because this is technically all my space now, and someone just comes up behind you and shoots you. So usually it's a good idea to have your flank like going through these doorways, clearing it out, making sure no one's caught behind, things like that. Um, as you get more, I guess, used to how fast-paced TF2 is sometimes, it's a good idea to also make keeping track of who's alive as well as who's you can see. So I think it's kind of common where some players don't have the player alive and dead on top of their HUD or wherever their HUD they've chosen to be. Up to you. I know it blocks some people's vision. Some people don't like it. I find it really useful. I find that as you're playing something that's this fast paced, and you need to know who's alive, who can be on your team fighting at that moment versus their team. It's nice to be able to say, "Hey, 2 people are dead, and I see all 4 in front. My flank doesn't have to go through IT to kind of clear it. They can just come in through choke to help us fight." And that way, you're kind of not splitting up, clearing something that doesn't need to be cleared because no one logically is there. Yeah, so let's say you've taken second. Next, the hard task is breaking into last. Um, typically, when you're breaking into last, it's hard because people will have Uber advantages and disadvantages. If you have Uber advantages, actually, I'll probably go over that later. But for now, most of the time, people will usually take space in this lobby area. I would say as an attacking team, it's easier to take this area for instead of the other team having to hold it, just because of the way that they have a 1 and 2 door. If you're a defending team, if you have 4 players in lobby, it's hard to immediately rotate if the other team shoves these doorways. Vice versa, um, if you're an attacking team, it's easier to kind of take this area, posture to last, just because even if they do shove, like, for example, 4 players behind you, you can easily just say, go forward, and then kill the 2 people who are by themselves on last. So you've taken lobby, now you're trying to work a pick, you're trying to get Uber ad, and eventually break into last. let's say you have some sort of Uber ad or player ad. Most generally, the common door to go through is 3 and 4. The idea is like if you go through 3 and 4, you have really good vision on in terms of kind of the whole last point, and you're able to direct eventually where you want to go and where you want to end up. Same with 4. You kind of dictate where you want to go and where you want to end up. If you are a good team and you're confident in, so you could say how like it's playing out, some players will also go 5. The idea is that any defending team, maybe their players down, maybe they don't have Uber anymore, they want to be playing back because they don't want to immediately get caught out. They're going to be playing Heaven, they might even be playing close to 1 or 2. And so for an attacking team, the idea is if I go 5, um, I can go through these narrow chokeways and take a lot of space without having to, lose a lot of health or use our Uber, things like that. People sometimes go 1 and 2, and the idea there is that it's a really fast way to immediately get into last because you just have this narrow doorway. You're immediately on last, and then people can take space with rocket jumps or demo stickies and things like that. But vice versa, it's just not as common because people are usually able to hold these doors really well. A defending team will have, projectiles, they have sticks, they have rockets, and you're going through a narrow chokeway. So usually people will push 1 or 2 if they notice, like, hey, the defending team are down, let's say both their soldiers, they only have a demo. However, the demo is shooting and holding lobby on his own. We're going to push 1 and 2, and now we don't have to worry about any soldiers because they're both dead, and the demo is in lobby. So you'll find that a lot of times throughout the points, the way or where you're pushing and where you're kind of retreating from depends heavily on what classes are there as well, which again is a good idea and why it's important to calm in terms of what you're seeing, what players might be, where they might be, if you need to be careful because someone's hiding, things like that. Okay, so let's say last. Let's like reverse this. Let's say you're defending, and we'll go from here to mid. A lot of times, people defending, it's generally your roaming soldier who's usually holding 5. The idea is again, it's somewhat easier to stuff 1 and 2 because again they have to go through these 2 doorways, and so you kind of need less manpower here holding these doorways, versus over here where because this is so far away from where everyone else might be, it's easier for an attacking team to shove. So you want a projectile holding this. That leaves 2 other projectiles, a soldier and a demo. The idea usually is that your demo is helping your soldier hold lobby. So there's these, other doorways. Demos are usually over here because they're also able to help 1 and 2 if need be, but they can control a lot of this space and help do damage. And when I say control space, I don't mean they're, walking into this, they're making sure no one walks into lobby at all, but more just that they can kind of, trap this off, they're holding this area, and even if someone walks over here, they're able to make sure they do enough damage so that anyone walking through these doorways, even if they live, they're weak enough that someone else can kill them. Lastly is your soldier here. I'm gonna say honestly, this is kind of the most boring soldier job, but you just sit here usually, and you're just making sure that no one like peeks through. For example, maybe they run a sniper. You want to make sure that you're spotting 1 and 2. Maybe you're jiggling it. So even if they're pushing with their whole team, you're kind of just slowly giving ground and making sure they take damage along the way. Same for 2. This whole area right here, like this little small rollout, as a soldier, as a scout, as a demo, anyone, it's a very tight space. And so I would say in general, soldiers are usually more than likely to win any fights here. Unless of course you're invulnerable because of Uber or something. So it's not an area that people usually contest. It's kind of just left alone, maybe worked around, maybe for example, demo to stick here, but that's kind of a neutral ground. Usually that leaves your 2 scouts in your med. When you are pushing and pulling or just playing 5 CP, you'll find that situations change a lot. Maybe your demo gets a quick like 4K kill trap somewhere, and now they're 4 players down. You want to push out immediately. A lot of times you'll see that players will have 1 scout not on an off class, and the idea is like as soon as you can, your scout, who's usually your pocket scout, is running your med out to second, trying to capitalize on that advantage, taking that point, denying spawns, things like that. But typically, your other scout is usually on an off class. The idea is that when you have even Ubers, sure, you could hold these doorways. The whole time, the enemy team is trying to make sure that you use your Uber in some way where they don't have to use theirs. And you're able to kind of just still me out and wait until they make a mistake. Excuse me. The best off class for that is usually your engineer. Um, Engineer is just so powerful. So earlier I mentioned like your projectile watches 5, one of them is watching 3, and one of them is watching 1. As you play more matches, you'll find that even though you're watching these doorways, you can get shoved to the point where you're weak enough that you can't watch these doorways anymore. So a good example is, let's say 5. If I'm a soldier here and I'm trying to control this doorway, more often than not, my meta is going to be, tanking someone else 1 or tanking someone else 3. I'm not going to be able to just constantly eat damage here. And if someone is on the attacking side and trying to fight all the time, they might just be beamed by their med because they don't have that rotation. Eventually, you're going to have to give up the space, and if people just run through this doorway, it's pretty free for them. And that's where the idea of this engineer gun comes into play. You put one here, and it basically prevents anyone from jumping in and trying to rocket jump in, shoot your med. And yeah, the idea is just you're trying to defend your med, and an engineer usually does the trick. Now you might ask, why not a heavy? The idea is heavy's green and all, but you're not going to be, you don't have aim hacks like a gun does. You also don't have a dispenser, which usually helps a lot. The final attack and defense, a lot of it is just spamming around, and people are inevitably going to run out of ammo. A dispenser just helps take the pressure off your med, for example, to heal as well. You can go to it for heals, then get ammo, things like that. So the gun does a nice job of, blocking any sacks and things like that. You also find that if you're on the attacking side and you're trying to break into last, the idea usually is like, hey, I'm a soldier. I'm trying to get in, sack onto the med and make him use or kill the med. But if I go here, I'm going to get spammed by the soldier. Let's see, I'm healthy enough. I block him out. But now I still can't jump in because the gun is there. And that's why a gun is so good. So you'll see that on attacking side, the idea is usually you take control of the doorway, and then you spam the gun down. And as soon as it's done, then you're in. Like slim. Okay, so let's say you are attacking. You've managed to wipe the enemy team. Maybe they had an advantage. They actually Ubered into last, but somehow they didn't get any kills. You wipe them. Now you're pushing on to second. Let's say, for example, maybe there's like 2 people alive. Usually, the combo will be clearing lobby, again, just because it's a big area for your flank to clear alone. And with everything I said, again, it depends on how many people are alive, who you see, where they were last called, things like that. But combos will usually clear lobby on pushing out. Usually your flank kind of holds 1 and 2, or they push out. It's just easier for like 2 smaller doorways for a single person to kind of control that area. But you pushed out. You've done your due diligence. A lot of pushing out is also making sure you're clearing all the corners. So for example, Windows is talking about this area here. This is boiler. People can hide here. You don't want to be, the scout with like 90 model or FOV, and you're just not looking and you don't see him and you're walking out. And this scout is just free point for me for last, and they just walk behind you and cap. Don't see none of that kind of thing. So you want to be checking it, this is a good hiding spot. Even like right here is a good hiding spot. These things are also sometimes hiding spots, but they're not really used that much. Also making sure no one snuck into heaven through all the chaos. That's also really common where people during the fight will just, they'll hide. You don't know, or you don't check, and next thing you know, they're on last capping, and they've won the round. Which is also, again, why it's crucial that you're making sure that whoever's pushing out there, they're spotting, they're calling, hey, I've seen the med and the scout in front. The other 4 are dead. Everyone's up front. We don't have to be as cautious. In those scenarios, like, obviously you don't need to be checking lobbies or anything. If I'm like, a whole combo's around me, and the only other guy who's alive and not with us is outside calling everyone's in front, everyone's just going to go through 2. It's the easiest and fastest way. Right, let's say you're on 2 now. You're trying to defend against these people, trying to sack in and kill your med or kill some players so that you're on player disad, things like that. You're usually going to find your combo playing around this point. Again, the idea is you have so much height and you can spam them down as they come in. They can do less damage to you. And if a soldier bombs, they're not going to bomb super, super high. There's just a limit to how high you can bomb. Your scouts are on height, they can deny that. Versus a scout who's on here, if a soldier bombs over you, you're not going to be able to shoot him well enough to kill him before he kills you on that. So usually what'll happen is your pocket scout, your meds are here. Obviously your scout can, jump around on some of these things like defense, pizza, things like that. Your demo is usually around here. Again, he's just trying to control the area. He's making sure that people don't enter choke without, taking some damage, things like that. Against good teams, like, they can get through choke, but again, the idea as a demo is that even if they get through choke, they've taken so much damage that they can't do anything else. Your flank scout, it kind of depends how you play a second. For example, let's say your roamer loves to just hold this IT hold. Your flank scout doesn't need to be holding IT with him. You can kind of just be with your whole combo to help kill these soldiers. Just because there's enough time where if the roamer calls, hey, they're pushing me IT, your flank scout can run over and also is your flank scout will for anything that's coming. And also your pocket soldier. I would say in pocket soldier, you're a bit more loose. The idea is that you don't want everyone sitting, on point, for example. You're going to eat the same sticky damage. You're going to eat the same rocket, things like that. So usually, for example, you'll see good soldiers, pocket soldiers, they're kind of they're at liberty with their ability to rocket jump to kind of just rotate around when needed. Let's say, you don't know where they are. You haven't seen them in choke for a while. A soldier can very easily just walk over here, jump, see the combo, and then just jump away and not risk dying or getting caught out. So you'll see pocket soldiers often just kind of jump around, make sure they're spotting, things like that. They can also help out when needed. So let's say you're holding second. I don't know, they've pushed and for some reason their med dropped. Maybe you have a really nice demo who's done a nice sticky trap, or your soldier landed on them when they weren't expecting, when they were trying to bomb and kill your med, and they instead re-killed their med. As you push into second, again, this choke is kind of the most, I guess, popular, you would say. A good standard, let's say you have a move advantage and you're pushing to second, but you're trying not to use. A very standard one is trying to go through choke. Your combo scout, we usually just spawn, make sure no one's hiding in the sewer. You don't want to be the team that has like 4 players here trying to get through choke, and a scout who has, his monitor off just runs through for free because no one's looking, and then is behind you guys and shoots your med. So usually it's a pocket scout to kind of just take the beam, just look around, make sure no one's here, and then help everyone else walk in. When you walk into a choke, and this kind of does pertain to a lot of other chokes in different maps and other points, it's usually the pocket soldier who will jump through first. And the idea is that, if I'm on the offending team, I can just sit here and rain down rockets on you. And so the only way that I'm not going to hit the scout that walks through or the demo that walks through is if I have to be aware of another angle. So if I'm an attacking soldier, I've jumped here, and now the defending soldier, he can't just keep spamming rockets here. He has to look here as well, maybe back up even. So usually you'll see that your pocket soldier jumps through. Often he'll actually call around, making sure that no one's bombing your med. Maybe like, hey, I see everyone in front. Both soldiers on high, demo's over there, both scouts are over there, med's over there. You guys can kind of just walk in. Or scout or soldier can be like, hey, I'm jumping through. I don't see any sticky traps. It's free to walk through. After that, it's usually your pocket scout who walks through, kind of verifies everything, also helps, immediately take height. So as soon as you get this little foothold, you could say, you kind of gained a lot of space in the sense that if you're on the defending team, once they gain like the rock, they have a bit more space. It's hard to shoot rockets at people who can dodge really well. And now that they gain more space, they can dodge more. They have more room to kind of do rocket jumps, things like that. And then, next is your demo and your med. The whole time during that, your flank might be pushing, usually through IT. There's not much to this. It's just, your flank is kind of clearing this out, making sure, again, no one is behind. Just because, you don't want to be the team where, hey, your combo is, going through choke. We're 4 of us here, we're through choke. And then some random person is just like, hey, there's no one in IT. I'm going to run through. I'm going to go cap the point while everyone is fighting mid. You'll find that TF2 gets super chaotic sometimes, and it's really easy to be like fighting mid. Oh, the med is leaving. Let's bomb after him and try to kill him. And the entire time, someone's just slowly capping away at your point. And now they're on last, and now they're capping, and you cannot make it there in time to stop them. Okay. That was a lot. My throat was worse. Let's see what else. I guess 2 things: backcapping and point denying. So backcapping is just something that usually, if you're on mid and you're defending, it's something that's an option that people do explore. The idea is that as people push in, every cap, the middle cap takes the longest to cap for every map except Golden Watch. I don't know why that is. That's just a thing. Cough maps work a bit differently, but for most 5CP maps, the middle point takes the longest to cap, the second point takes shorter, and the last point is the quickest. So if I'm on middle, I know that if people shove behind, again, like I mentioned, your flank maybe goes behind, they go to cap while their combo is fighting. I'm going to be able to cap them. I'm going to be able to cap the second point faster. I'm going to be able to threaten the idea that if they don't turn around and leave mid, they're going to lose the round. And the same pertains to, let's say, second, where maybe you had second, but for some reason you've lost uber advantage, so you guys are getting ready to leave. You could be like, hey, flank, do you guys want to shove one or something? You're trying to find this doorway where with 2 players or 3 players or, however many you want to commit to this, can they shove fast enough to kill whoever is maybe trying to clear it as well? And just go to point while your whole combo outside is like still pushing and fighting and getting distracted. So backcapping is just something that's pretty common in TF2. And I would say as you get better, it's easier to kind of making sure you clear through things and identify who's backcapping. And again, this is why communication is important. You want to make sure you know who's going back to kill them, or if anyone's going back to kill them. Or if you notice it, no one's calling it, you're raising the idea that, hey, this is an issue. They're on second. We're going to lose the round if we don't turn around right now and abandon whatever fight we're taking on them. Next thing is point denial. So let's say you want a mid fight. The idea of these points is that when you cap them, your points and your spawns come closer, and the times are also delayed for the enemy team. And their spawns, are pushed back a point. The first round, it doesn't matter, or the first point doesn't matter. No one controls it. Everyone, regardless of how long the mid fight is, they're still spawning in spawn. But as soon as you cap that mid, your spawn is much closer. This is the first door. If you cap the second or middle point, now it's so much faster to get to mid. Same thing when you cap second over there. Not this door, this opposite side, but let's say you capped blue second. Now you have this middle point or this forward spawn in on the middle point. Shoot, wait a second, my headset died. I need my rocket jumping sounds. Oh shoot, was I muted for a while? Oops. Yeah, so this is your forward spawn. You guys can hear me, right? Okay. Yeah, so this is your forward spawn. And the idea is like, hey, maybe an extreme example would be you're the defending team, you're on last, you've managed to kill everyone, and no one's died on your team. You want to go immediately to the point, and what a lot of teams will do is they'll stack the point. The more players you have on any point, the faster it caps. And so all your demos, your med, your soldiers, they count as one person. And so accordingly, I don't know what the rate is, but they'll cap according to how many people stack on. Your scouts are different. They count as 2 people, and so scouts usually cap a lot faster. And it's the idea that your flank scout is kind of sometimes a boring job, because if your team is good, or if they're taking fast fights and they're either leaving immediately or pushing forward immediately, a lot of what you'll be doing is just capping a point. And it's kind of a thankless reward, or work, I should say, because someone needs to do it. Someone needs to cap this point, and make sure that no one backcaps and things like that. Sorry, that was a tangent. So yeah, you'll stack a point. Let's say everyone is dead. If you let's say you're slow and you don't cap this point fast enough, the entire team can respawn at their forwards, which is over there, and they're just gonna have everyone for the mid fight, to kind of make it troublesome for you to walk into mid next. After you've kind of wiped them, you have a red. Let's say you do make it here, you're fast enough, you manage to cap in time. In that scenario, they get delayed, and what that means is just they don't spawn there anymore. Now they're gonna spawn all the way back in second. It's much more easier and faster to take mid and eventually just keep rolling. And so that's kind of just something that you want to be aware of, just because again, people can do the same to you. Other thing is that stacking isn't always something you want to pursue. Let's say they've died for a while now. They're not going to be spawning in time, and everyone is in front. Teams can call, I'll leave one scout at cap, so it does get capped. I know everyone is spawning, but my whole team is going to go to mid, and now we're already here fighting and taking ground, even though we haven't capped yet. But again, that's a risky thing. Usually you'll find teams don't do that because there's still that backup potential if you're pushing to second, if you're pushing to mid. If you're pushing to second or mid from like a defending point of view. But let's say you are attacking, you'll find that, for example, mid fights, again, there's no denying anyone from the very first mid fight. People will usually leave your flank scout. There's no stacking, there's no need to snack. And you'll immediately push into second off of some sort of ad, even if you're a player down, because maybe your ad is just that big. Maybe there are 4 players down. You want to be able to take second. And so even though you're not finished capping mid, you have 4 players here. The enemy team, like there's 2 players, they're already out to last. Even if they all spawn fast enough, if you've done a good job, maybe you're only down to 1 scout. They've already taken control of all these doorways. And so, even if they don't have this cap, they don't have mid capped, you can't come into second. They've gotten this point basically for free. All right. My throat's kind of hoarse. Is there anything? I don't know. Is there like QA for this? Does people have questions or anything? I don't know how this works, to be honest. I also don't know if I missed anything. What are the common hiding spots in process? Yeah. Yeah, so let's just go map by map. One I always like to abuse is just this one. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And you'll find that a lot of hiding spots on last aren't great just because, hey, if I'm a soldier on defending point, people are pushed, maybe I get a pick. But because I'm not on last, I couldn't jump point and stop it in time, and now they've capped. So these are just very niche, like, oh, I know the entire team is going through here. My entire team is on the left, and I know I'm good for one, and I know my team can hold fat long enough. Or, hey, I've been stalking this guy for like 4 rounds already, and I'm just in his head. I just want to keep killing him. I'm gonna stand here, wait for him. But again, people will check it, so do it with it what you will. Oh, I showed this a bit earlier. It's not super common, but it's something that you could be aware about just because, you're hiding. Again, heaven is a hiding spot. It's really, really dumb, but sometimes, hiding right next to spawn can work. If you're a scout, you just run straight out, you're not gonna see him unless you're actually looking for him. Like, you just don't see it. So again, really dumb. You don't want to be caught up for things like that. Let's say, you've wiped a team, there's one guy, everyone's trying to find him. Oh my god, where is he? And he's just sitting here the entire time. Same for this. This is a really dumb one, but it works sometimes. Your boiler's a common one. Again, just a lot of these things, like, they don't usually work, but when they do, it's like, oh, duh, I should have checked that kind of moment. There's one here. You can kind of get on this, like, little edge thing, and so, if someone's running through, they're not going to see it or really check because, hey, no one's going to be dumb enough to hide there. There's, like, this pogo one. I don't think I've ever used it. Probably fucked it up. I hit it almost. But there's a way to, like, pogo on that, and you're kind of just holding there. So, just something you can also think to check. Whenever I have teams that troll, some people just hide here, and then as an attacking team, like, hey, we've wiped everyone, let's walk in, and then a scout just runs through and just 2 shots our mid or something. IT, a common one might be here. Again, like, hey, I'm a flank scout, I'm checking, trying to push in and making sure no one's gonna back at me, and there's just someone sitting on top of this stupid batting thing. Another one's on top of IT. You can technically get here. The idea is like, hey, I'm a scout. I'm trying to push in. By the time I'm here, though, the soldiers here, they're able to juggle me in and just kill me with 2 rockets. Talked about this earlier, but this is kind of Seagull, I think. So if I'm an attacking team, I'm pushing, I'm trying to spot everyone. I'm saying, I'm missing a soldier, I'm missing a soldier. And the entire time, this guy's like kind of hiding, and he just bombs over everyone's view and just shoots your med. So that's something you could check. Same for here, like, until you're through choke, you can't really spot it unless your soldier or your scouts are doing a good job. So that's something. Sewers, this is technically hiding space. You'll sometimes see people use, like, hey, I'm defending second. Or maybe my team got pushed to last. We just wiped on mid except me. I'm gonna get cheeky kill because someone's weak. They're gonna walk through here expecting attack, and I'm gonna kill them. And again, these are all just very circumstantial. On that note of hiding, I can check spots, FOB. Are there any common sentry spots besides the point? Yes. I will get back to that question. The other thing I wanted to do was sticky traps. As a demo, like, sticky traps are a big thing when you're trying to, maybe you're on this ad, maybe you're a lot of players down, you want to get that good pick. So, I'll go to the ones. I'm a demo. Actually, I'll go backwards. If I'm a demo, defending my last point, if it's on this side, usually if you're on this side, you want to be sticking the point. The idea is, hey, they're coming in. I want to make sure they can't immediately just walk on point and start capping. I want to have them try to, like, juggle, shooting these sticks and also shooting the players. But my common sticky traps are usually just, sometimes they'll be above 5. Maybe I'm confident that my team is going to be able to stop point. I'm just playing here, and the idea is like, hey, soldier's going to walk through 5. I can dead on him. Same thing for all these doorways, like 3, 4, 1. These are all good sticky spots. This one is also something that a lot of people use. The idea is like, hey, I'm going to have both soldiers hold lobby for a second. I know I can get someone here because they always peek it. That's a good sticky spot. 1, you also find it's hard to push 1 sometimes just because, with a shutter, it's hard to jiggle it fast enough without someone deading you. But 1's a doorway. Some people hide it in the light. Some people put it on this side, or just above 1. Vice versa, if I'm an attacking demo, sometimes I can just hide at 1. If someone is defending, they can't see it unless they're actively checking for it. Like, this won't kill me, but I can see it. But if, they didn't see me putting it down, I'm just going to hold here, and as soon as I see someone, I'm going to kill someone. IT, a lot of times if you're a demo and you're defending, but you want to get a cheeky kill, people place them here. put them here, and the idea is like you're 5 here, and unless you're experienced enough, you're actively looking out for these, you're cleaning them. Someone on attacking won't see the demo, they'll just walk through and die. That's also why, you know, it's important to clear your corners. Same for this, like this one, people shouldn't usually be dying to, but it does happen just because people will rush. They won't take their time clearing corners. So you can usually see a demo here, but you know, if you're holding this, hugging the left, you're not going to see him until you get through and you die. Again, which is also why it's important to check your corners. Defend or attacking from second. This one's a common one. Again, the idea is like, hey, people, this is really like probably second or first most used spot to come out into second. Unless I'm actively checking for it, I'm gonna walk out and immediately just die. People put it here. The idea is like, hey, I'm gonna walk. I can't see that. I'm gonna dead. This one here. This one here. Above one as well. If I'm slowly giving up this point, you know, I can maybe even put one here for a cheeky one. You know, maybe a defending scout. They're like, hey, I'm gonna kill someone, and then they get out of that. This one's also a very nice one. I'm gonna walk over it. I can't see. I'm dead. Same for that. Again, these are all just sticky traps are just one of the hardest things to kind of play against, especially as a new player, just because there's so many spots where you can put one down, and TF2 gets so chaotic that sometimes you just don't see it in time. This one's a common one, under the pipes. A lot of teams, if they have some ad, they're pushing hard and fast. They're gonna walk over until, and they don't see in time before they die. This one's a popular one. You can kind of see it, but if you're really not looking for it and actively checking it, like as a defending or attacking team, you can kind of just accidentally walk over it and die. When you play more games, when you play more scrims, you'll always find a demo who does this. They'll, you know, just trap off a shutter, and they'll just sit here waiting for a kill. Someone opens the door and they immediately just die. That's been me in the past. You'll always find people who do that though. You'll inevitably run into someone that you'll be like, hey, your entire team is dead. Why are you in, you know, lobby trapping this, getting your kill? And they'll say, ha, loser, you're dead. These lights, you might think these are not good sticky spots, but in the heat of the moment, chaos, like it's very easy to just be like, just run in and die. These ones are pretty common. If I'm defending mid, putting up here is a really common space. As a scout, if I'm gonna run on and try to take height, I'm not gonna see it until I'm on top and then dead. Same thing if I'm, you know, leaving mid. This one's one I like a lot. You really can't see unless you're actively looking for it. The bad part is just that a lot of people, you know, aren't gonna hug it really well. So it's a good trap for like, hey, someone's, you know, getting back and killing them or climbing down. This one's good. This one's good. Again, the idea is just you're walking past, you don't see it. It's too late. This one's a really common one. Let's say you've taken the space, you're trying to shoot them out. This, like even this angle, I think it kills you, even though you can't see it at all. So it's just a very common one. Let's say you're defending mid, you know they have Ubrad. Sometimes demos will trap off IT, so no matter what, whoever comes through will die. This one. Some people use this one. Again, you're attacking, you're getting to mid. You can't see this until unless you're actively looking for it, kind of things. I've seen this one where it's like on the edge of the doorway. Okay, I'm on red, so it's kind of a bit harder to see, or easier to see. Also, I'm using sticky jumpers, but with normal sticks, sometimes, you know, again, you just might not see it, and all it takes is one trap. Your med doesn't move right, and you get rolled to last. Okay. Oh, also, any like ammo and health packs, it's something that you can sticky, and some people do sticky it. I think process isn't one that happens a lot, just because I find that with the lighting, it's easier to see sticks. But you know, hey, I'm on last. Alright, you can totally see that. But sometimes it's hard to see until it's too late and you're dead. Common sentry points. again, this was very map to map. I will say, for process, I think unless you know they're gonna push because they have Uber ad, they have a lot of player ad, things like that. This gun right here is just the best gun. Um, and a big thing to note is you don't need a level 3. A level 2 is great. Level 2 will do just fine. So usually the priority is you want to get it here before it's level 3. Level 1 is a bit of the wiggle room where it's like, it's not going to do much, but it's still good enough. So I would say it comes down to personal preference. But for me, I would say as soon as I get a level 1 here, it does its job defending, second soldier. I can eventually upgrade it in any scenario. Other than that, if they're attacking, the idea is this gun, it's not going to kill anyone. Any good team worth their salt, any good projectile worth their salt will be able to just like jiggle this, shoot the gun down, and it's going to go down, or like have a soldier just spam it down. So you don't want it really close, because the closer it is, the easier it is to be like, just very fast shoot it. If I'm shooting it from farther away, it's going to be harder. I'm going to have to deal with a bunch of things. It's just going to take a bit more time. And when you're fighting last and you're losing players, that time can mean anything. It can mean a new spawn wave of players who had just died coming onto point and helping fight. So in that sense, usually you'll find that defending last, there's some sort of advantage for the other team. It's usually closer to spawn. Also because you can build it faster, If I'm here, I can immediately just grab ammo and again, just whack my gun a little bit. And let's say it's just a demo. He's not good. He doesn't know how to kill a gun, but he is damaging it. As an NG, I can tank this. As soon as that gun's dead, I'm in spawn, I'm switching off onto scout or something. Something I see a lot of new players do is getting caught out on NG. The gun is not worth your life. The idea is that bodies are more important than a gun that's going to go down. Now, it's different if you know the gun's not going to go down, but typically, against a newbie, against a good demo, it's going to go down. Yeah, that's it for sentries. You'll notice I didn't say anything about second or mid. The idea is that NG is just not good anywhere else. It takes too long to go like, hey, I'm going to take out my level 1. I'm going to move to second with my low speed. Demo, soldiers they can jump. Scout is just fast. I'm going to put up a gun. Someone is going to rocket it from across the map. And then I got to run all the way again and grab ammo and build it again. It's just too slow to capitalize off of things. Wall bug spots for roamers. This map in particular, it's really just that one. I think there's one above choke. It's a lot harder to hit. Actually, don't even know if it's still there. They patched it. But in general, the only one you should be worried about is maybe this one. And again, I wouldn't worry about it that much. Usually as you're going as a team, you're going as a player, the amount of things you want to get down first is long, and that's going to be on the lower end of what you want to make sure you're aware of. Key points of playing a pocket. Is there any more general questions? Because I don't want to talk or yap just for players who aren't playing Pocket Scout. I also don't know how long it's supposed to go. Jeez. Would you want your demos and soldiers to hold door? Yeah, that's a good question. In general, I'm assuming there's a reason you can't cap it yet, and that's probably because maybe you haven't capped second. It's a good idea for maybe your demo too. This is a really easy trap, and it could be a good idea for your soldier to have the other doorway. Again, though, this isn't something you want to throw your life away. The enemy team will inevitably have a better advantage. Even if they take a rocket, they can immediately, resub, get health packs again. Whereas you're here, unless your med is tanking you, you just cannot get more health. And again, a single soldier, you cannot hold a doorway alone. You're just going to get out spammed by, 3 guys shooting you at once. Demo's a bit easier because your sticky straps means you can be further away and do the same amount of damage. You can death them all at once, kind of things like that. But in general, you could. The only instance I say you wouldn't is if you're just not coordinated as a team. Like, hey, we're in last. I've trapped off left, but your soldier's still like on second. He's slower. He's not gonna get right. Sometimes there's not a point because if I'm an enemy, I'm gonna go on sniper. You haven't kept second. I'm gonna kill your med and I'm gonna go back out, and now you've just kind of wasted your advantage. So again, it's just a very big push and pull thing depending on the situation. And I also say that you shouldn't be holding these spawn doors if there are players outside. Like, um, there's no point in holding this spawn door if it's just you and a soldier in your med, and there's like someone over here, you know, charging at you. Like, it's just not usually a good idea to hold this and ignore the scout kind of thing. Key points of playing Pocket Scout. I'll kind of lightly touch on this since I don't see any other questions. As a Pocket Scout, I see a lot of like newer players starting out. Even people who play a lot, um, make these mistakes. But the idea of a Pocket Scout is um, you're protecting your combo. That's a big thing. It's not um, taking Ubers, getting frags. A big thing is keeping your meta alive and enriching levels. Um, Sorry, I got sidetracked by the question. And server change. Pocket Scout, like, you want to be making sure that your meta's alive and your gem's alive. Those are the two most important classes. If your meta's dead all the time, you don't have Ubers, you don't have heals, you're gonna lose the game. And the only scenarios that you don't lose the game is scenarios where you're just better than the team in terms of DM, which can happen. You make it die twice as much, but your scout has 80% accuracy on a scatter gun, your demo drops 500 DPM, like, you'll still win, but it's just not a good habit and not a good way to play. And you'll inevitably hit a wall where people will just be better than you because their med's alive more simply on a heal def difference. Same for your demo, your demo's going to do a lot of work usually. They're going to have the most damage output because they have, two weapons that does a lot of damage. But both of these classes are sometimes not it's not easy to take a 1v1, so you want to be there to help them out. If a soldier's bombing, your man's not gonna be able to kill them before he kills the soldier. Same with your demo, unless your demo's really good, things like that. Um, so key point I say playing Pocket Scout is making sure your med stays alive, and that does involve like a lot of things. Just like I guess from uh, just go to spawn. Um, I would say the two things that I'm always looking for when I'm playing Pocket Scout is, or maybe even three, is are there sticks? Are there any soldiers bombing? And then kind of keeping track of the general flow of the game. Just because usually if you're Pocket Scout, you're main calling. That is, as your Pocket Scout, or as a Pocket Scout, you usually have the most info. You're able to move the fastest. So Pocket Scouts usually kind of dictate the flow of the game. But again, it doesn't matter, especially at a lower level where, your demo could do it, theoretically. And if your demo's good enough, you can do it. You'll find that other players also make a lot of calls as you get better, just because they're able to see something and they want to make a play. But in general, Pocket Scout's a very powerful place to make call like which direction, what you're doing at a given moment as a team. So I'm Pocket Scout. I have a med. Whenever I'm going through doorways, I'm checking for traps. I don't want anything killing my med. I'm making sure there are no sticks. I'm almost always looking at the sky because I want to make sure that no soldiers are bombing my med. Getting through, I'm calling like, hey, I'm spotting who's in front. Same thing, my soldier bombs through. He calls their sticks left. I'm gonna hug a bit right. I'm gonna clear the sticks. I'm gonna tell my med it's safe. And then I've taken a bit of height. Oh, there's sticks here. I'm shooting them from here. And now I have this power position where um, my med's through. We've taken some space. No soldiers can bomb my med without me just kind of shooting them out of the sky. Yeah, that's just a very broad overview of Scout, and honestly, probably didn't answer a lot of your questions, I'd imagine. Um, but yeah, I think that's it for me, honestly. My throat's killing me. I'm gonna have a sore throat tomorrow. Um, for the grass and second, are there more specific? Okay, so you mean grass, like I'm guessing here, or like I guess just general. Um, Not really. I would say for the most part, like if I'm defending, I'll just call this grass, and people will know. Like, it could also kind of just be in front of sewer or something, like front of sewer kind of thing. Or generally, like the idea is like you're calming well enough, and everyone has a general idea of what's happening, and they're able to watch their flanks. That if I'm calling this grass, everyone knows that hey, it's because they're like in this area they're pushing. Or if I'm like, um, attacking, and I'm like, hey, some guy's on grass, he just ran through. Someone should be able to infer that, oh, they just ran through. It's because they ran through one of these doorways. And the closest one is here because it's right next to grass, things like that. Um, yeah. Yeah, you'll find that like a lot of callouts kind of get generalized, and in the heat of the moment, one thing will mean another, but as long as you have a good idea or understanding of where everyone is and what they're afraid of, usually you'll know like, hey, what they're talking about. So like for example, um, what's a good example? Choke. Um, choke is usually that one middle path between mid and second. But hey, we're defending last, and I'm calling choke. I'm probably referring to one of the doorways that everyone is fighting on, things like that. But that's it, yeah. Um, Probably missed a couple of things. Is there any questions or anything before I skedaddle? Windows, do you have anything to add? Or anything I should have covered that I didn't?
No, I think you got everything as far as what I saw.
Great. Um, well, thanks everyone for joining. Good luck on your, I don't know when they start scrims, teams, whatever.
I think it's any time starting this week. Should start to meet together.
Fantastic. Well, that's it. If anyone has any questions, feel free to, I think there's a how-to or QA or
There's
whatever.
a student
Oh,
question section, and there's a newbie cup question section in their respective categories.
there's that.
Should be able to ask questions, and usually coaches take a look at those just about every day. So
Yeah. And if you're really serious on getting better, like there's definitely guys out there. I know like Benny's released some videos. Something that might be pretty cool is just watching like higher level like invite players play. So I mean those are always streamed. There are VODs out there from countless years. That's always just kind of cool to see how people play and how it's changed over the years. Um, yeah. I'll stay for like 5 minutes if there's any questions. But of course, good luck.